Okay, what's up, everybody? Good morning. Welcome to a hump day edition of Morning Scone presented by Brock, the Baton Rouge Orthopedic Clinic, Parish Construction and Roofing. If you need an orthopedist, you go to Brock. You need a roof, you call Parish. Unique Physique, uniquephysique.com, Restored Motions, restoredmotions.com, and On Fire Athletes, the platform powered by GameCoin. Hoping all of you saw the news this week about GameCoin. Sheds a lot of light on what happened over the past 3 years and why things have been quiet. But a lot to say about that in the coming days. Okay, and please smash the like button if you're there on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel, Facebook, like the page, share the post. We have quite a lot to get into. LSU has added Lance Guidry to the defensive staff. This was the lead on today's episode of Locked On LSU. So if you want to go get a full synopsis there, all my thoughts, you can get it. But Lance Guidry is a guy who's from Louisiana, was born in Welsh, in Southwest Louisiana. Went to McNeese, coached at McNeese. He was coached all over. He's been a defensive coordinator. He was the head coach at McNeese. And if you remember, it's interesting. So he was the DC at Marshall. And then Willie Fritz hired him to be the DC at Tulane. And before he ever coached at Tulane, Mario Cristobal hired him to be the DC at Miami, where he's been the last 2 years. So he was fired at Miami this year, obviously collecting I would imagine, a pretty significant buyout. And so he'll join LSU as an analyst, a guy that is super overqualified to be a defensive analyst. But you're seeing this path for a lot of coaches where they'd rather be, especially if you made your money, you'd rather be a defensive analyst at a Power 5 like Bob Diaco, which puts you on the radar for another Power 5 on-field job. So no doubt that's what Lance Guidry's thinking there. But LSU still has their vacant on-field, one of the 10 full-time staff members job still open. So they're still looking for a tight ends coach. But Lance Guidry joins the staff. And then, some news yesterday where Cliff Kingsbury announced he is not going to be a head coach this year. He's going to stay in Washington. So he did not interview with the Saints. And then on Tuesday evening, Mike McCarthy, it was reported Mike McCarthy also is withdrawn from the Saints coaching search. And I know there's two ways to look at that. You can go, man, nobody wants his job. It's terrible. Or McCarthy wasn't going to get the job. And so you advise, I think that's very common, where you advise someone and you say, hey, you're not going to get this job. So they're allowed to withdraw, which allows them to save face, sort of avoid the public embarrassment of not getting the job. So I think that tells you the Saints probably zeroed in on Kellen Moore. Perhaps it's Darren Rizzi if they weren't blown away by Kellen Moore. If Kellen Moore told him that he's not interested, I don't know how that may go, but I would imagine we'd I mean, they've done all their interviews. Now you just have to make a decision. So you've interviewed Rizzi, Weaver, Kafka, Kellen Moore. It's going to be one of those four. So make your decision. Do you want to retain Darren Rizzi or do you want to hire Kellen Moore? It sure feels like it's going to be that way. So anyway, all right, y'all. By the way, Ross Jackson had a one-on-one with Mike Kafka at the Senior Bowl. And so that is up at louisianasports.net if you want to see the write-up around his interview. And Kafka also is going to be on Off the Bench today. I know they recorded that yesterday evening, but it'll air today on Off the Bench. So, okay, let's say some good morning. You know the drill. Please smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, Facebook, like the page, share the post. Anything y'all got about anything, fire away. Hey, Brian Wynn, good morning. Jacob Thompson, good morning. Dylan Landry, good morning. Bubba Smith, what up? Hey, Sean, McCarthy out. Wow. How much of a reflection on Loomis? Obviously, he created the situation no one's to be a part of. Again, I think that's part of it, Sean, but I think it's a two-sided coin here. I think if the McCarthy thing to me tells me far more he wasn't going to get the job, and the Saints told him. I mean, 2 nights ago, remember we had the report about the Saints not being enamored with Mike McCarthy. So if he wasn't going to get the job, it's just very common. Like you see it all the time where people withdraw from consideration, right? Well, it just means you weren't going to get the job. And so they told you weren't going to get the job. So publicly, you can say I'm withdrawing. I think that's what happened with McCarthy. Now, Joe Brady, Aaron Glenn, like they wanted Aaron Glenn. Aaron Glenn took the Jets job. I'm pretty certain they wanted to interview Joe Brady, and that was a serious candidate who elected to stay in Buffalo. And I think that is very similar to Ben Johnson a year ago saying, I'm going to stay in Detroit and wait for the right opportunity. Got a good thing in Detroit. Why leave? Wait for the right opportunity. I think that's probably the Joe Brady thing. Go back to Buffalo. You're going to be good again next year. So go have another good season with Josh Allen and that team and have a better opportunity next year. But the McCarthy thing, I think, is less a reflection on the Saints and more he wasn't going to get the job. Hey, Taylor, good morning. Trivia, good morning. Tim Gotro, Irfan Sayad, Gamorgan. Hey, Thomas, good morning. Guidry's excellent news. Yeah, I mean, I have always felt, since the analyst thing became a thing, how many years ago that's been now? 10 years ago when Nick started doing that? I've always said, listen, if you can afford it and you can add someone that makes you like 1% better, you do it. What I do find interesting is how much support staff LSU has let go here. Of course, last week, the headliners were Nick Brissett, Jacoby Stevens. But I talked yesterday on AFR, today on Locked on LSU as well about about Jazz Smith, who is the director of operations. Jazz, her responsibility was, everything that wasn't on the field, right? LSU goes to the bowl game. Well, who's the person that make sure they have the hotels, they have food organized, what time to eat, where were they practicing, all that stuff. Like that was Jazz. It's a significant role, and she was let go. So that, and then she had several people under her that were let go. So I don't know necessarily that that's all just cost cutting in the revenue share world. Sometimes there's more. I don't know. I don't know the story, but adding Lance Guidry is great news. You're getting a guy that's been a head coach, a defensive coordinator. He's been the interim head coach at 2 different places. He's been the head coach at McNeese. He's been a defensive coordinator 7 times. You're getting that guy as an analyst. No, by the way, he's deeply rooted and tied in Louisiana. He was the high school coach he was coach at Karen Crow and at I was looking this up last night. He was a high school coach at 2 different places in Louisiana. So the point is, he is deeply, deeply rooted in Louisiana. It was Karen Crow and Leesville. I should have known that. Diesel. Cecil's coach at Leesville. Okay. Super Saints fan, good morning. Do you think Kellen Moore and the Saints have a verbal agreement on a deal? Probably. It's really one of two. I believe it's one of two things right now. Either they got to deal with Kellen Moore, or they didn't love Kellen Moore, and so they're going to retain Rizzi. I think it's one of those two. Thomas, we'll get it, man. Ryan, more Matt, seems like the initial reports the Saints were enamored with McCarthy were true. We're not enamored with McCarthy, yeah. Taylor, any update on Colin Hurley? No, man, and I did message Colin. I messaged him directly. And he never hit me back. So hopefully he's doing well. I can follow up with him again, but hopefully he's doing well. Tony, Mr. Wallace, do you take Genty at 9? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Oh, man, no. A running back in the top 10. God, dog. You need cornerstone pieces on this franchise. And if you're ranking positions in level of importance, right? Quarterback, left tackle, edge rusher, cornerback, right? Name it. Rank them. Your running back may be last on the list. So no, you don't take Ashton Genty at 9. Hey Dale, good morning. Just to be clear with Sean saying. I don't know, Dale. If they want to pay me, I'll take that money. Brad David, good morning. Hey Gary, good morning. Questions. 1, incoming freshman. Who gets to interact with them first? What do you mean? I need you to clarify that. I don't know what you mean. 2, if the Saints are so very far over the cap, how do they pay for the draft class every year? Right. Well, they have to get within cap compliance. So that's part of it because you have to pay your draft picks as well. So getting within cap compliance is restructuring all the deals the way they do to get within cap compliance so they have enough cap space to pay whatever free agents they want and their draft picks. Hey, Michael Lane Spazzali. John Webb, good morning. Robbie, thoughts on Lance Guidry? Talked about that a little bit already. Yeah, I mean, he's way overqualified to be an analyst. I know there's people at Miami who look at the team this year defensively. And look, Miami was a 10-win team, but a lot of that was Cam Ward, obviously. And they missed the playoffs because they blew a giant lead against Syracuse. And that's what cost him his job ultimately. But a year ago in 2023, after that season, they had such a dramatic turnaround in Miami that they gave Guidry, they tore up his contract, gave him a new one, an extension, and a raise after 1 year. So the point is, Lance Guidry got, again, Miami's a private school, so they don't have to disclose the value of their contracts. But I'm going to go and assume Lance Guidry was a 7-figure coordinator. So if this was the first year of the new deal, assuming he had a 2 or 3 year deal, I mean, they have to pay him a buyout for 1 or 2 years were left on his deal, whatever that was. So point is, Lance Guidry's being paid by Miami and he'll coach at LSU. Hey, Deborah, good morning. Nicholas, good morning. Duval, good morning. Feels like Loomis leading the Saints right back to where they were prior to Peyton's arrival. Yes, it does feel like that. Hey, Trevon Ware, good morning. No update on Colin. That just mentioned that a bit ago. Someone else had asked. Hey, Bailey, mocking Milrose. Fun to remember how he played against LSU. How did he have 500 rushing in 2 games? Yeah, I don't really care. It doesn't change the fact that, I mean, I do care. I wish LSU had won those games. But it doesn't change the fact that Jalen Milrose not a good passer of the football, which I've been saying for 2 years. And he's not. I mean, to your point, Bailey, you just pointed out his rushing total. That's a reflection on LSU's defensive incompetence, not Jalen Milrose's ability to throw the football, which has been my contention all along. He's not a good thrower. He's a great athlete. And there have been plenty of great athletes that played quarterback in college and have had success. Eric Crouch won a Heisman Trophy. Tim Tebow might be the greatest college football player I've ever seen and the greatest college career I've ever seen. Can't throw the football, but he was a 3,000-yard passer in 2 years in college. Robbie, good morning. Mark, good morning. How was the reception for the new LA sports site been? Awesome. LouisianaSports.net. Very much appreciate everybody. I actually was going over some numbers last night, and the really encouraging thing is, you would think that in season during football would be the big time. We launched at the end of August, or at the beginning of August. So it was actually mid-August. But we saw a gradual increase through football, right, as people are getting used to it. But what's interesting is this month, I think, has been our biggest month. January has been our biggest month ever, and neither the Saints or LSU are playing. So that's really encouraging that people are finding the site and loving the content that we're putting out every day, even though like you don't have LSU or Saints games. Obviously, Saints coaching search helps, and Ross has done an amazing job staying on top of that. I think we've just gotten creative with the way we're doing content that people want. We're pushing the right buttons. Okay, hang on 1 second. Let me go turn off Drew's sound machine. Thomas, we have a little business we have to take care of. Dale, this is for you.
Parrish Construction and Roofing. At Parrish, we've got you covered. From the top of your roof, all the way down. Parrish Construction and Roofing. Parrish built. Parrish built. Parrish built. From your hometown. ParrishBuilt.com.
Okay. Parrish Construction and Roofing. Remember, if you need an orthopedist, you go to Brock, brortho.com. Locations all over the greater Baton Rouge area. If you need a roof, give us a shout. Parrish Construction and Roofing, ParrishBuilt.com. Hey, remember also Unique Physique, UniquePhysique.com. Restored Motions, RestoredMotions.com. So for Unique Physique, that's semaglutide, tirzepatide, the weight loss shots you hear people talk about so much. If you want to get a jump start on your weight loss journey, remember the shots don't cause you to lose weight. What they do is they slow your gastric emptying to normal, because most of the stuff we eat is crap, and it speeds up the conveyor belt. Anyway, it gets normal, so you feel full and satiated, so you don't eat as much, and so your caloric intake goes down. And anyway, if you want to learn more, highly recommend. Lowest prices, never any contracts. Unique Physique, uniquephysique.com. Hey, Austin, good morning. Christian, good morning. Feels like you're taking the last person at the bar with any of the remaining candidates. Keep Riz, try again next year. Look, man, Christian, I'm not late to the party on that one, man. I've kind of been beating that drum for probably a week to 10 days now. So I'm with you on that. Chris Jarrell, Saints are a dumpster fire. Hey, Bart, good morning. Mark, good morning. Brandon Ingram, trade rumors. I hope they do trade him, man. I mean, trade deadline's coming up. I don't know how many times you can have a teardown rebuild in New Orleans. It feels like they do this about every half decade. But, I mean, a few years back, you had Zion, you had B.I., you made the trade for C.J. McCollum, trying to go make a run at it. You had a fun finish to the season, made a little playoff run. But, it's for whatever reason, Willie Green, certainly part of it. Zion's inability to stay healthy, big part of it. All the injuries this year, bigger part of it. It just hadn't worked, man. Yeah, LSU against Auburn tonight at the PMAC. LSU's a 12.5-point dog in that one. Let's see, feels like LSU fans are turning on BK a little. Honeymoon feels over, but fans are fickle. If they win big this year, they'll want to build him a statue. Well, they should. I mean, I think that all the coaches that won championships should have a statue. Yes, Ed Ogeron as well. I think Les, Nick, Paul Dietzel, they should all have statues. I have no problem with that. And that's how it should go. And you should have expectation. Man, the second you stop holding football coaches accountable at LSU and stop having expectation, that's scary, man. That's when you allow yourself to wade into mediocrity. And that's not okay, man. There's a different standard here. And when you take your eye off the ball and you lower that standard, then all of a sudden you start becoming okay with 8-4. That's when you're excited to go to the Independence Bowl like LSU was in 1995. And that's not okay. Thomas. Hey, Charlie Cavell, good morning. Brent, good morning. Mark, you're just like fire. Mark's like fire hosing comments. Okay. That's another one for good measure. Rocky Mortimer, I've also removed my name from the coaching search. Hey, Danny, do you think the Saints get a bridge head coach? I mean, Danny, listen, I'm on record. I've said this for a week and a half now. I think that's the best approach. That's what I would like to see them do. You can go. I got AFR videos of here talking about it. That's been my point. Is you've had instances of the Raiders retaining Antonio Pierce, the Patriots hiring Gerard Mayo. It is not altogether uncommon. It happened in college with Zach Arnett at Mississippi State, where you're going to go through it a little bit. Your job's not desirable. You retain someone internally for a year, and then you move on. Even if you don't say it publicly, like that's what we're doing, that's what you're doing. And that's what I think they should do. I think you should cut Derek Carr, post June 1st release, save about $30 million against the cap this year. Sign a veteran free agent like Jimmy G or Jacoby Brissett or someone like that that's available. 1-year deal. Have them come in, so you at least have a veteran on the roster, or Rattler, Hayner, whichever one. You're going to tank. You're going to end up with a top 5 pick of the draft. You're going to reset your salary cap and hopefully hit on this draft, and then hire a new coach who's going to draft your franchise quarterback next year in the top 5. That's what I would like to see happen. I am willing to punt on the 2025 football season. I know a lot of people internally, the Saints won't, but their unwillingness to do so is their unwillingness to admit, like, you're not getting this back on track. Tomachita Thomas, good morning. Couldn't run or stop the run. Running back is a crazy pick. But it was the person who said Genty. Yes. Yeah. No. Patrick Gumaugan, given the Saints head coach situation, I agree with your perspective. Make Rizzi a lame duck coach for next year, begin the rebuilding process. Also saw Project X last weekend. Great movie. Is just me, or does Musso look like Costa from that movie? I haven't seen that movie. So I don't know. But Musso's like 5'5". Previous first question was, does Brian Kelly get first interaction, or does strength coach gets him first? When a freshman gets on campus. Okay. Well, the coaches can talk to him, but can't work with him on the field. Now, for the early enrollees, they'll be going through spring. But if you're talking about the players that show up in June, that's strength coach is the one who will actually be working with them every day. They can do like classroom work with the coaches, but they can't work on the field. Is John Gruden a viable option? Nope. Jeff, good morning. Rex, looks like Mickey wants to prove he can find the next Sean instead of hiring the sure thing. Is there a sure thing though? What's the sure thing? Robbie, when does LSU spring practice start? What date is the spring game? They actually announced the spring game yesterday, April 13th, I believe. April 13th, I think, is the date. I got a LouisianaSports.net. Let's see. Spring game is the 12th. Sorry. April 12th. They didn't announce what day spring practice starts yet, but the spring game is on April 12th. All right, a couple more minutes here, y'all. Please smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, Facebook, like the page, share the post. Glad you're with us. Quentin, Leon, Bailey. Milroe would have been a great QB in the 40s. Milroe would have been a great QB in the 80s and the 90s. I mean, would have been a great wishbone, split back veer style quarterback. Could have gone to Army and been a great triple option quarterback. If Moore isn't the guy the Saints hire, then what coordinators are available? Well, I mean, we know who they've interviewed. So they've interviewed Anthony Weaver, the DC from the Dolphins. They've interviewed Mike Kafka, the OC from the Giants. They've interviewed Kellen Moore and Darren Rizzi. I mean, it's one of those four. I mean, that's your four. It's one of those four. And so I think if they identify Kellen Moore as the guy, then he's the guy. And if not, I think they hire Darren Rizzi. That's what I think happens at this point. Taylor, good morning, Matt. Mickey should have spent the season on The Apprentice. Who did up that custom Parrish bat in Terrier's office? So that wasn't a custom Parrish bat. That was a bat that. So we were over at the Parrish office yesterday at the meeting, and so I posted a picture of. It's a Marucci bat with. That one, if you can see it. So it's a Marucci bat with that is a Parrish sticker that Richard Tilley put on a Marucci bat. That's in our conference room, and I put it up on the windowsill. Anyway, but we're talking about getting some custom Parrish bats made. Robert Potts, good morning. Been listening to Gary Brecka's methods after starting cold plunge over Christmas break. How much of his methodology you incorporate in your daily rhythm and diet? Yeah. All of it. Now, I don't go outside in the morning. Now, I don't have a red light bed. I don't have the oxygen mask and all that sort of stuff. I don't have a hyperbaric chamber. But, what he always says, you can just go ground. You can go put your feet on the grass, touch the earth, and do breath work. So candidly, in the cold weather months, I'm not going out and grounding and doing breath work, but I will do breath work inside, and throughout the day. But all of it, man. I did the genetic methylation test, so I supplement. I found out what my deficiencies were. I supplement for those deficiencies. I mean, my blood work. This is my blood work from a couple weeks ago. I mean, blood work is perfect. And the only thing that was high was my red blood cell count. And that's because of taking hormone therapy. So if you take hormone therapy, a lot of times your red blood cell count is elevated, which is why they encourage you to give blood. So I go give blood every 6 weeks or whatever, however often you give blood. Anyway. Let's see. Please smash the like button if you would. Subscribe to the channel, Facebook like the page, share the post. You saw McCarthy's out. Yes, it's actually in the description on the episode. Talked about it a good bit today. Yeah. Hey, Kelly Gross. Good morning. Again, just for those just joining us, missed it. I think I don't think that's Mike McCarthy backing out of the Saints job. I think the Saints advised him he was not going to get the job, and so he was able to back out. Would Rizzy want to be an interim coach for a year? Yeah, I don't think you phrase it as him being an interim coach because nobody's going to do that. But just like the Raiders did with Antonio Pierce or New England did with Gerard Mayo, you hire him and you hope it goes well. But the reality is we all know it's not going to go well for the Saints next year. So do I think Rizzy would take the job? Yes. And I don't care who takes the Saints job. The Saints are going to be bad next year. There's no realistic path for the Saints to be good next year. Irfan Sayad, I wonder why Gail Benson is enamored with Loomis. At what point should we all see here? I mean, a big part of it is he was in her corner when the whole family dispute happened with Rita. And so, lines were drawn, and she's loyal to the people that were loyal to her at that time. Hey, Abner Neal, good morning. Jeremy Sagely, good morning. Tiger Diver, good morning. All right, y'all, I got to go, 7:45. Thanks for being here. Tyga Poppy, Brian Jones, week 3 of cold plunging. Bro, you're right. The hardest part is just you looking at the water, you know it's going to suck, and it's just get in. Just get in. But once you're in, easy. Hey, Rebecca, good morning. Hope you and your family doing great. James, good morning. Get trees are awesome. Just saying. All right, y'all, I got to get going. Y'all have an awesome day. Thanks so much for watching. Appreciate y'all for being there. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, Facebook, like the page, share the post. All our sponsors linked in the description on YouTube, tagged on Facebook. We appreciate you. Y'all have an awesome day. Locked on LSU is live.